Another one of the statues here in Statuary Hall is this one of Lew Wallace of Indiana. His father was the governor of that state, and Lew Wallace himself held several offices in Indiana. He also served as a distinguished military officer during the Civil War and was the youngest man ever to attain the rank of Major General. He later became governor of New Mexico and then served as a U.S. diplomat. He is perhaps best known, however, not for his military or political accomplishments, but rather for his literary works. General Lew Wallace is the author of the forever immortalized work Ben Hur, A Tale of the Christ, the classic novel about the life of Judah Ben Hur. That work, first printed in 1880, not only swept the nation, but it swept the world, being translated into numerous languages. Interestingly, the impetus for this work began in 1876 when General Wallace conversed at length with Robert Ingersoll, a co-officer from the Civil War. Ingersoll, titled by the press as the Great Agnostic, was the national evangelist for atheism. In his conversation with General Wallace, Ingersoll first forcefully asserted that there was no God, no devil, and no afterlife, and then challenged Wallace to try to prove that Jesus was the Son of God. Wallace was disturbed by the conversation and found himself ashamed of his own ignorance about the topics raised by Ingersoll, and especially of his own lack of knowledge about the life of Jesus. Wallace therefore set out to research the life of Christ, as well as the Jewish and Roman cultures of that day. He studied numerous works, including those by Josephus and Edward Gibbon, and he eventually made a trip to the Holy Land to trace the steps of Christ. As a result of his research, two things happened to General Lew Wallace. One, he became a Christian, and two, he wrote the book that even today remains an international classic. Interestingly, not only did Ben Hur become the best-selling novel of the 19th century, but it probably did more than any other single work to undermine Robert Ingersoll's national message on atheism. Ben Hur inspired Christians as few works before had done. Its effect was felt across the nation and all the way to the White House. In fact, President Ulysses S. Grant, who had not read a novel in 10 years, made an exception with Ben Hur and read it through within a day and a half. Grant's statue is here in the rotunda, as is the statue of President James A. Garfield, and President Garfield thought the book was so important that he penned a nationally published letter recommending Ben Hur. President Garfield even asked General Wallace to write more such novels to benefit and strengthen the nation. General Lew Wallace, commemorated by a statue here in Statuary Hall, was one of the most influential Christian authors of the 19th century.